Okay, so recently I finished the Sophie hood, and I've seen a lot of people online and on YouTube talking about their frustration because obviously you have to seam up the back of the hood when you're finished with it. And I just have a stitch marker in there holding the two sides of it together. And there's really no need to feel frustrated when you have to seam garter stitch. There's a perfectly easy way to avoid a bulky seam, and in this video I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so here I've got two swatches of garter stitch, and what you want to pay attention to when you're trying to create a seam that is not bulky is if you can continue the pattern across the seam, you'll have a less noticeable and less bulky seam. So if you look at garter stitch, right, you have these little, some places they call them frowns. To me, they look more like horseshoes than frowns, right? You have stitches that go like that, but then you also have stitches that go like this, right? That look like what are called smiles, right? So it might be easier to see on this other swatch, right? That you have these. And so all you want to do is connect the smiles to the frowns. You don't want to connect a frown to a frown. You don't want to connect a smile to a smile. You want to make sure that you're connecting these frowns. So if I pick this side to use the frowns, because I feel like they're very obvious over here, these upside down loops. If I use those frowns, then I want to connect them to these smiles, right? So top and bottom will be connected, okay? So let me show you how to do that. Okay, so I'm gonna start on this side and I'm gonna go under the frown on this side. And I'm using a different colored yarn because I think it shows a little bit better. I feel like for me, half the battle is being able to see what I'm trying to connect to what. And then I want to go onto this side and I want to find a corresponding U, right? Or a smile, and go under that. Pull it through. Then I'm going back over here and I'm going to find a frown. And come back over here and find a smile. And then once you're ready, right, you just sort of pull that together. And I didn't turn it at the bottom, but what you can see is this makes the seam much less noticeable. It's noticeable on this because I've used a darker color yarn, but if you see what happens, right, that in garter stitch, you've got this pattern where you're going, if we use this, you're going smile, frown, smile, frown, smile, frown, smile, frown. And then the same thing up here, frown, smile, smile. So you're trying to keep that pattern, that stitch pattern across. That will create a far less bulky seam. This is what it looks like on the wrong side. There's that seam, and again, I can, when I block it, I'll flatten that out a little bit better, but on the right side of the fabric, and at the top, you're going to have a little bit of, a more noticeable seam because I believe there's decreases on both sides of the hood, so it makes it a little harder to line it up. But if I zoom you in here on this part, right, so this is the part, again, where you're just making sure that you're keeping that stitch continuity across the seam. And so it's much less noticeable that that's where the seam is. And once I block it, you may not be able to see it at all.